Chapter 5, the debate maker versus the decision maker. So, debate maker versus decision maker. So, the debate maker is going to engage people in debating the issues up front, which is going to lead to more sound decisions that people can understand and can execute efficiently. Whereas the decision maker is basically going to come in and just make all the decisions themselves. No one has buy-in. No one feels like they have their fingerprint on the decision. They'll make it with a smaller circle, but they leave the broader organization in the dark or team in the dark as to the soundness of the decision in essence. So context, we're going to go through the 3 practices of the debate maker: frame the issue, spark the debate, drive sound decision. The diminisher's approach to debate, as well as becoming a debate maker. Alrighty, 3 practices of the debate maker. First and foremost, we got to frame the issue. So this brings sort of a structure to debate making. Frame the issue. What is the question? Why is it, why is it important? So what the question is, what the problem is. Make sure it's something that actually needs to be debated on. Why is it important? Why is the question important? Who's involved in making the decision? Does it just need to be the sales team? Is it a company-wide decision? Is it an owner's decision? Is it an acquisition and disposition decision? Who's involved in the decision? And how is the decision going to be made? Am I ultimately just going to make the decision, but I want your input? That could be an option, or it could be a consensus decision. Those are all options. So what's the problem? Why is it important? Who's involved in this debate? And how is the decision going to be made? Frame the issue. So again, the process there is define the question, form the team, assemble the data, frame the decision. 2, we need to spark the debate. So let's make sure it's engaging. Let's make sure that obviously the people involved in the debate actually have an interest in it. They actually want to talk about the topic. Let's make sure it's comprehensive. All the data that we need, all the different components and things that we need to drive a good decision are there. Any data that we need. Make sure it's fact-based. This is huge. It's not about people's opinions. It's about, let's look at things objectively. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what is the best decision. And then make sure it's educational. Make sure that people walk away feeling like, oh yeah, no, I actually learned something from that. It wasn't about who won or who lost or who had a better point. It's about, hey, I came away from that with a better understanding of the decision and where we need to head. So the process there is going to be this dichotomy of creating safety for safe thinking as a leader. So create safety for safe thinking, but demand rigor, which is like results, and clear thinking. So it's like a yin and a yang if you want to look at rigor and safety. So create safety for the best thinking, right? Leaders are going to share their view last after hearing other people's points of view. They're going to encourage others to take an opposing stand, encourage all points of view, focus on the facts, depersonalize the issues, keep it unemotional, and look beyond the titles and the hierarchy and just who has the best input. But at the same time, we need results. Ask the hard questions. Challenge the underlying assumptions. Look for evidence. Look at the issues, not the people. Always keep it issue focused, not about whose opinion it is or whose idea it's about. What are the results? Attack the issue, not the people. Ask why repeatedly until the root cause is unearthed. So you're creating this safety for them to express their opinion, but then you're driving decisions. You're being hard on people to bring out the best in them. Equally debate both sides of the issue. So that's how the debate kind of takes place. You can take a screenshot of that if you'd like. And then at the end of it, we're going to drive sound decision, re-clarify the decision-making process. Did things come up in a debate where now the decision-making process is different? Does it need to be a group consensus, whereas once it was just going to be myself who's making the decision? Make the decision, whether it's a consensus or, the person leading it, and then communicate the decision and the rationale. So one of the benefits of having this debate style when we have issues is that even if you are the one making the decisions, which you can absolutely do, at least everyone had a chance to give their input. And also through this rigorous debate, everyone has a really deep understanding of why we made the decision that we made. Everyone kind of has their fingerprint on the decision. Everyone's more bought in. So that is the benefit of the debate. Basically, everyone is able to give their opinion. Everyone understands why the decision is made, and they're more bought in with that decision. So the diminished approach to debate is they're basically going to bring everyone in, raise what the issue is. Okay, they're just going to dominate the discussion about what needs to be fixed, this and that. No one is able to voice their opinions. No one feels like they've been heard. So you're going to have less buy-in, and you're going to have ultimately worse results. This goes down to the 5 dysfunctions of a team, which is a completely different topic. But then they just force the decision. So there's no input from other people. There's no buy-in, and that's like the biggest issue with this is that you can come in and talk about an issue. Okay, then you dominate the discussion about what needs to change, and you just make the force the decision. No one's going to be bought in. No one's going to want to follow that decision. Maybe some people do agree with it, but other people's don't. But you need to be able to, we need to give other people the opportunity to share their opinion. Even if we don't agree with it, at least they feel heard. They're going to be more bought into the decision once they are able to give their input. So become a debate maker. There's 4 components of this. Ask the hard questions. We want to ask the questions that get at the root of the underlying problem. Maybe it's a little controversial, but you need to be able to go in there and ask the hard questions that get to the root of what is going on here. Challenge assumptions. Ask for evidence. People are going to make points, maybe their opinions. Make sure they're backed with data, with facts. Ask for multiple data points. They might think that they have, like I said, they have an opinion on something. Make sure that's rooted in fact and there's evidence to support their claim, ideally multiple points of evidence. Ask everyone. Certain personalities are going to speak up more easily than others, but we want to make sure that we're getting input from every single person on the team so that we can have sound decisions. So sometimes you need to call people out. Hey, what do you think? Because they'll just sit there and they won't have any, they'll have good ideas, but they just don't have that personality to speak up and engage. So make sure everyone's included. And then ask people to switch. This is interesting. So one person's arguing for this side, the other person's arguing for that side. Have them switch perspectives and argue it from the other side, which can give them perspective. So unexpected findings. I think it's interesting that, as a leader, you can have a very strong opinion, but also facilitate debate that creates room for other people's point of view. Data is key. So you can still have a very strong opinion. You can still be the decision maker in your business, but create this environment where other people have the opportunity to debate. I think that's your responsibility as a leader, is to at least hear out the other points of view and challenge your own assumptions to make sure that they are the best decisions. You don't want a bunch of yes men. You want people who disagree so we can get to the best decision. It's about constructive conflict. That's what it is. Everyone knows, hey, we all have each other's best interests in mind. It's not a personal thing as to why I'm disagreeing with you. It's really because I'm trying to drive the best decision. Debate makers are equally comfortable being the decision maker in the end, like I said, right? They're not only consensus. This doesn't mean that everything's a debate and you don't have any power. It just means that you're always getting ideas and opinions from people where it matters. In rigorous debate, right, it doesn't break down a team. It builds the team. It makes it stronger. There might be a little bit of fire in there, a little bit of constructive conflict, disagreement. But it helps people respect each other because everyone's speaking their mind and not just walking on eggshells agreeing with each other. It creates a stronger sense of trust, and people feel more comfortable speaking their mind, which leads to less resentment and just overall stronger team chemistry. So decision makers, right? They engage a select inner circle in their decision-making process, which sometimes is the case, right? But you want to try to get people engaged as much as possible. And what they get is underutilization of the bulk of their resources, of their people, right? They're going to get a lack of information from the people that are closest to the action, which I think is huge, resulting in poor decisions. Too many resources thrown at those who don't have the understanding they need. So yeah, especially when you make a decision on the back end without anyone's knowledge as to why the decision is important, you might give them the tools and you might spend money and resources to solve the problem, but they're not fully bought in. They don't fully understand what's even happening. So that's like one of the most fundamental things of a debate, is that people are able to really understand at a deep level why we're making this decision, the importance of this decision, and also they're completely bought in once you go to make it. So being able to debate things, even if other people don't make the final decision, at least allows them, again, to feel heard. And you also might get ideas that you never even thought about. People like I said, who are on the front lines who have a different perspective. So you always want to challenge your own perspective with other perspectives. You don't want to be around a bunch of people that just say yes to you all the time, because you're never going to get to the best decisions. Debate makers access a wide spectrum of thinking, right? High utilization of the resources. They get real information that they need to make better decisions, and they have efficient execution with lower resources, right? And the resources have a deep level of underlying issues, like I said, which helps us execute better.